Well, hello. Rod Black with you, and welcome to another edition of the Rodcast. So glad you're with us. Hello to everyone around the Rodcast world. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, whatever you have to do. Spread the word, and we hope you're enjoying all of our guests that have joined us so far and many in the future. One of the things about this show is that we strive to have the biggest guests, the biggest names, the biggest stories. And today is no different. Quite often as a broadcaster, we are sometimes accused of having our favorites, and I mean favorite teams. And I can tell you right now that I don't particularly have a favorite team per se. When I was growing up, I loved the Montreal Canadiens and the Winnipeg Jets, and I'm a closet Minnesota Viking fan for whatever reason. But honestly, I don't really have a team to cheer for. But I do cheer for great players and great people. And today's guest is no different. He is one of the greatest. And he played for this team right here. Here he is. That's the team right there. For those of you listening, this is a Boston Bruins jersey. And the guy on the back is that guy. Number 77, Ray Bourque. You're going to love this Rodcast. Enjoy it, everybody. And please welcome number 77.
The Rodcast with Rod Black, brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win. Now here's your host, Rod Black.
Well, look who's here. Ray Bourque. As I live and speak, look at you.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Look at you, man.
Yeah, well,
oh wow,
it's just the angle of the my
you
little thing
great.
Here. So,
I'm so glad you were able to join us on the Rodcast. So I want to go through your introduction. Okay, can you handle that?
Sure.
Because I just spent a lot of time and a lot of research on Wikipedia. So, member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Stanley Cup champion, two-time Canada Cup champion, Olympian 1998, NHL record holder, most goals, assists, and points for a defenseman, five-time Norris Trophy winner, Calder Trophy winner, Rookie of the Year, King Clancy Memorial Trophy winner for leadership and humanitarian. If you have to go to the washroom, feel free, because I'm going to continue on. Lester Patrick.
That's a long career.
Lester Patrick Trophy winner for your contributions to USA Hockey, 19-time end-of-season All-Star, 13-time first-team All-Star, 6-time second-team All-Star, 8-time All-Star shooting accuracy champion, one of the NHL's 100 greatest players, an arena named after him in Saint Laurent, an arena named after him in Endicott College, 21 seasons in Boston, still lives in Boston, doting husband, amazing dad, incredible grandfather, I guess now too, has his own restaurant, still skates with the Bruins legends and the alumni. You've done everything. He was a member of the Beatles. He set a world record for solving a Rubik's Cube. I think you also scaled Mount Everest. You were the first defenseman in space. I don't know if you knew that. You know how to program a VCR, and you also came up with a vaccine for COVID. Ray, what haven't you done, Ray Bourque? What haven't you done?
Well, 3/4 of that was accurate. The rest of it is far from it. But no, I've lived a dream. Believe me. Everything that you mentioned, I could never have dreamt of. Just dreaming about playing the NHL and playing a game, and would have been amazing, and it was. But then, as the career goes on, and things are going really well, and you're accomplishing things as an individual and as a team, and you just don't want it to stop. And for me, that was my mindset. Never kind of looking back, always looking forward, and never really taking credit for maybe what you've accomplished or what you were doing that day. Always trying to do it better the next day. And I think that's what allowed me to have a successful career for that amount of years, and being as consistent as I was. And probably that's what I'm most proud of, is being pretty solid for 22 years and being accountable, somebody that you could count on to kind of be there night in, night out.
Yeah, and humble. You've always been so humble. You're such a humble superstar. Where did you get that from?
Um,
Humbly, how do you talk
well,
about being humble?
I was very shy kid, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't say much. Peter McNabb, God rest his soul, that just passed,
Hmm.
left us not that long ago. When I was a rookie, when I came in, he told a story for the longest time that I didn't speak English when I came to Boston. I spoke perfect English. My parents were from the Maritimes. I grew up speaking both languages in Montreal. I just didn't speak. I just listened and watched and, paid attention and pretty much only spoke when I was spoken to. Um, but, I was shy, quiet. But once the doors opened up and I got onto the ice, that's where I felt most comfortable out of anything I've done in my life. And that's where I let loose, kind of thing. I'm the silent killer, I think. Guys that know me well, I could be a lot different than just that quiet, shy kid. But I grew a lot in Boston. When they retired my jersey and I had that speech, that's where I grew up, was in Boston. And, I was always a leader by how I went about my business on the ice and how I led by example. And that was so easy to do because I just loved and had a passion for the game. And then there came a time where they asked if they wanted me to be captain of the Bruins. And I think I was just turning 26 or had just turned 26. And I was like, um, I don't think so. I'm like, are you kidding me? I had Wayne Cashman, Terry Riley as captains. Rick Middleton was still on our team, and the responsibility I thought that came with that was very, very scary. One that I didn't know if I was comfortable to really jump into, and um, and I told them that I really didn't feel comfortable being captain at that point in time or whatever, and then. I said I had a lot of respect for Rick Middleton. I thought he'd be the next guy in line. And then, they said, well, what about if you share captaincy with Rick Middleton and your co-captains? And it was really a great way for me to kind of transition into that leadership role at the next
Yeah, because he
level.
was captain at home and you were a captain on the
Yeah,
road, right?
yeah. So we did that for, I think a solid 2 years. And you know what, when you're captain, it's not one guy, it's a handful of guys that really is the core and that glue of leadership on a team that, when you play a team sport. And but still, you're the head guy, and it's kind of up to you to, the easiest thing is when things are going well, you don't have to worry about a thing. You just go out there and play. But when the shit hits the fan and things have to be addressed, and how do you address them and all that stuff, that was intimidating thought. So that, for me, that was a scary, scary time. And I think it was just perfect how we were co-captains and transitioning to when Rick retired. I was captain, I ended up being captain for 14 years. So and then you know but if you would have known me as a little kid, or just coming in with the Bruins, and how and now I'm doing auctions. You speak in front of. I remember the first time I had to speak in front of like 200 people. I was like, my lip was just trembling, the sweat was pouring. I looked like the guy in Airplane that was in the movie. I was like, get me out of here.
But Borky,
Oh,
I've got to know you as more than that the hockey and the silent assassin. I've been at a few events where you've spoken, and you're fantastic, and you're funny, and you're a great auctioneer, and you're so engaging. So I don't get how you were so quiet.
yeah, I
What is
was
this, like a volcano that was bubbling out, and all of a sudden here comes
just
this is Ray Bourque, funny guy.
when I say, you grow up and you mature and you grow into stuff and you're exposed to so much,
Yeah.
you have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be left behind, and the hockey part wasn't leaving me anywhere behind. It was only moving me forward to even more more situations and more opportunities and all that stuff. So you had to grow, you had to, develop and get out of that comfort zone. When it came to public speaking or just being put in certain situations. And so when I look back, I just laugh because I know as a little kid and with my buddies and just quiet, but when it comes time to play and lace them up, let it be baseball or hockey or whatever kind of sports, you're so competitive and you're a decent athlete that that's where you kind of feel really really comfortable. And the other
When did
stuff I kind of had to grow into.
Yeah, when did you start to get the idea that you could do this for a living? You wanted to be a pro. You don't start playing hockey because you think you're going to be one of the greatest of all time or get to the Hockey Hall of Fame. But when did that tipping point or turning point happen for you that you realized, hey, I got something really good going on here?
Well, I grew up in Montreal, so I was very spoiled as a kid. I thank the Montreal Canadiens when I got into the Hall of Fame to make a young kid dreaming about playing in the NHL one day. And you dream, and you're like,
Were your
wow,
favorite players Canadians?
oh yeah. I mean, I was, Lafleur and I saw Jean Beliveau play a little bit, Henry Richard, Yvon Cornoy, Jacques Lemaire, Ken Dryden. But when I look at the guys that I kind of looked up to was Robinson, Lapointe, and Savard, the big three. I got to see play and win cups and do amazing things. So for me, those three guys were kind of guys I looked up to and loved to watch because I played D but when I was a kid, I'd play D, then I'd play forward. I played D, I played forward. But that question that you asked, I started separating myself probably when I was about 13 years old from a lot of my peers and my teammates and my friends and all that stuff. At 13, I was playing, and I remember playing pee wee hockey and being called up to Bantam, double A to kind of play a game here or there. And then, my first year midget, I was 14 years old and I got called up to play junior B and for the Saint Laurent Jets that, I grew up watching. They played every Tuesday night in my hometown. And, as a Saint Laurent Jet double A player, we all had the Jets as our name. And you kind of said, man, I'd love to play junior B someday. And then I get called up at 14 years old and, you're playing with guys that are 16, 20 years old. And, I remember getting a call when I was just about to sit down for dinner, early dinner with my parents, my dad and my stepmother. And they said, well, we'd like to, we're calling you up. We'd like you to come play junior B. And I'm like, really? And again, that was pretty scary. And so I never went back to midget double A. I ended up ending the second half of that season with the junior B. And then the next year, I'm a late birthday, so I was turning 15 in December. So that next year was my draft year for the Q, and I ended up going third round to Three Rivers, where Michel Bergeron was the coach and GM. That he drafted me there, and then that was the first year of midget AAA hockey too across Canada. So all that summer, I was practicing with the Lac Saint Louis Lions. That was their first year, the initial year of midget AAA. And if I was going to make Three Rivers, I was coming back to play for Lac Saint Louis. That ended up going to the Canadian finals, and I don't know where it was. But they ended up losing in the finals. But I played in Three Rivers that first year. I had a great first half of the season, and next, January 8th, Michel Bergeron calls me into the office a Saturday night, and I mean, I'm clueless, and says, "Come meet me at the rink." And
how old are you then?
I'm still 15. I'm turning 16. I had just turned 16.
Wow.
And he trades me to Sorel. So we're in first place team with Three Rivers, having a great year. I'm doing awesome. And he trades me to the last place team in Sorel. And I have no clue why. I'm crying like a baby, and end up going to Sorel and calling my dad. After my first night in that billet family, we had three guys in the same room. I was on this little mattress that had springs
Wow.
popping out of it, popping me in the
Wow.
back, and I'm like, what am I doing here? I want to go back home. I want to go play for midget AAA like St. Louis
Wow.
and to get me out of here. And then my dad says, Ray, okay, give it a week. We'll see how you feel in a week. We'll talk and all that. So talk about my billet. They get me in another place. Lucien Dubois, our captain. We're in last place. We have a whole bunch of young guys. We're a tough team, awesome guys. A week later, I'm like, tell my dad I'm all set. I'm good. I'm probably playing 30 minutes a game and just having a good time and got great teammates. So we don't do anything really that year, but kind of stayed there. And then that next year, Sorel moved to Verdun. So my last 2 years were played in Verdun.
Mhm.
Should have been 3 years, but the underage draft came back, so it allowed me to get out of junior hockey a year before. So that was awesome.
Yeah. So, that trade, that's a great trivia question. Michel Bergeron, first guy to trade Ray Bourque.
His wife to this day never forgave him.
Le Petit Tigre. That's what he
Yeah,
is. I
yeah,
mean, the
and
little
her name,
tiger.
her name's Michelle too. So,
Oh.
yeah.
But think about that. I mean, maybe in a grand scheme of things, have you ever thought like life and things happen for a reason? And maybe that actually was good in the grand scheme of things. You became a first round draft pick. Yeah, you probably would have been on a championship team, yada yada. But
Yeah, we probably would have won the World Cup in
yeah,
Rivers, and they went to a couple. And no, believe me, I don't look back on anything. I think everything you do in life as you go
yeah,
forward, you just there's no rear view
wow,
mirror. But at that age, you're like, oh my God, you feel so bad, you're so
wow,
sorry for yourself, and da.
yeah,
For a little bit, but then bang, you bounce right out of it and you move forward. Okay, I cried for a little bit, I
yeah.
pouted for a little bit, but then hey, you make the best of it, and
Well,
that's what happened. I played a big role in that. I think I would have played a big role in any team,
yeah,
um, but we were okay. We made the playoffs the next couple of years, but never really did
yeah,
anything. But played with some good guys, and um, you know, had some good friends on that team.
yeah. What would those days when you think about it, did that help you with your boys, with Chris and Ryan and their journey into hockey? You've had so many great things happen. They're the sons of Ray Bourque.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pressure, but because of what that moment that you went through, that bit of adversity and challenge, and I'm sure they had to do it in their teenage years as they were getting into pro hockey. Did the advice from your dad help you with your sons?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was always a glass half full guy, always
Yeah.
positive guy and very supportive. And I looked at it the same way. I didn't have a dad. My dad was an electrician. He wasn't a Hall of Fame hockey player. So for them, following my footsteps, obviously, they heard it from a young age. And my kids were really good hockey players and
Mm-hmm.
played at a high level all the time. And sometimes they, I just, I wanted them to respect the game, work hard, respect your teammates, your coaches, the refs, and everything that came with it. And every once in a while, they do things, and I'd like, what was that? And then they like, well, he said this or he said that. I'm like, hey, you're not done hearing stuff from players, fans. You're my kid. So if you're gonna play this game, your skin is gonna have to thicken up, and you're gonna have to just roll with these things, and just find a way to hurt them another way on the scoreboard or by a big win, or doing something positive and good, and not being frustrated and reacting because if you're going to do like that, you're not respecting the game, and you're just hurting your team and all that stuff. So those are the talks we had every once in a while. But they love the game. They're very passionate about it. They did really well. Chris played 17 years, professional career, just retired this past year, and
And
his
he's a
number.
scout for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, he is one of their big scouts here in the Northeast, and they're retiring his jersey in Hershey this year in January. So he had an
Awesome.
amazing career in the American League. He played over 50 NHL games. He went to Russia twice. Last 3 years he played in Germany, and really saw a lot and experienced amazing things in his career. And then Ryan played 11 years in the American League, and he played one NHL game that was at Madison Square Garden. That was amazing to watch against the Ottawa Senators that my wife and I scrambled to get there and to see. So, they both made it. They're 5'8", 5'9", skilled guys. Well, Chris is a very skilled guy. Ryan's more of a role and kind of a, does all kinds of different things for a team. So they're different players, but they're fun to follow and really good kids that I'm proud of. And their dads now, they both have a boy, and Kingston is 10 now and already skating, and I'm having a blast going to see him play a couple of times a week. And Ryan has a rider that is just 1 year old, but already has a stick in his hands and a basketball and a baseball and you name it, he's got it. So it'll be fun to follow.
Oh, wow. Look at you, Gramps Borky. Hey?
And then I got 3 granddaughters that,
Oh,
are
wow.
doing a lot of different things. So
That's awesome. You've had so many great things. You've had this kind of Forrest Gump existence in hockey. Yet you stayed in one place in Boston for a long time. And you had, in my mind, so many great kind of YouTube moments, those aha moments in your career, whether it was a highlight or it was an event, like retirements of jerseys like your own, like the Stanley Cup, which I want to talk about in a moment, but also early in your career when you wore number 7. I love this story because I remember watching it. I was a young reporter taking the highlights in, and I was a big Phil Esposito fan, but I'll let you tell the story of when they were going to retire Esposito's number. And you had Espo's number. And there was a lot of talk beforehand what was going to happen. So tell me the Ray Bourque version.
well, you know what? I think I've told you this before, but out of everything I've done in hockey, the thing that comes up the most here in Boston is that night. And the Garden only holds, like, at that point, 13,400, and not even 13,500, I think, just under that number. And there must have been 100,000 people at that game. But the story goes where I were number 29 in training camp. And I had a great camp, made the team. Now I come to the first game against the Winnipeg Jets. I think it was October 10th, 1979, and number 7's in my stall. And I knew who number 7 was. And again, I don't say much. I just get dressed and put the jersey on and about to go off for warm up. And Bobby Schmatz comes over to me and he says, "Ray, if you hear any hecklers, don't worry about it. Just play your game." I'm like, great. Well, I never heard anything, because I really got off to a great start that first year and did really well. And
Scored a goal that first game, didn't you, against the Jets?
Yes, against the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, that was fun. And then, the only thing I'd hear is the press every once in a while would ask me, "What do you think about Phil's number being retired?" I'm like, great legend, 2 cups, everything he's accomplished here, of course, and so when they traded Phil to New York, Phil was so upset and so pissed at Harry that Harry was pissed at Phil, and
General manager Harry Sinton.
that's why he gave me the number. I had lunch with Harry. I said, "Why'd you give me that number?" He says, "I was pissed at Phil." Great. So things are going really well. And then, there's talk about retiring his number, and they decide to do it. And it was December 3rd, 1987. And I had worn it for, 8 years, pretty much. And things were going really well. And nothing was being talked about. what was going to happen with the number, how we are going to go about it, and everything. Up until 1 o'clock that afternoon, where Terry Riley was coaching us at the time, and he's sitting in Harry's office, and he calls me and he says, "I'm here with Harry, and we're kind of seeing what we're going to do with the jersey." I'm like, "Yeah, it's about time we talk about it." So came down that I was going to wear it out for warm up and come back in between after warm up and go in the back room, put number 77 under number 7 and come back out for the game. We'll call Phil up and, then I'll take number 7 off and give it to Phil and reveal that I was going to become 77. And it was really messed up in terms of communication, all that, but how it all went down was couldn't have been any better. Phil was shocked and speechless for the first time in his life. And no fans, no teammates, no press, nobody knew other than my wife, the trainers, and management. So it was, and just seeing Phil's face was, and it's just the right thing to do. That number should never have gone out after he left the Bruins with everything that he's accomplished here.
Yeah, but you made 7 famous. You made 77 famous, much like what Paul Coffey did. You guys were such kindred spirits. I think that some people thought that you might have been separated at birth or something. The way you played, and you guys became friends as well.
I wish I could skate like Paul.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Wish he could do some things like you too. But you made that number famous, 77 in Boston. You have so many great years. Take me through the moment when you have to leave. And I know it's been years, and I'm sure it was emotional at the time. But knowing you the way I kind of know you, you never wanted to leave Boston. You still live in Boston.
Yeah, I bleed black and gold to this day, and I never wanted to leave Boston. And it just tells you the situation that we were in, not only that year, but for a few years. And I thought it was so unfair, not only to me, but to the fans. I think the Bruins or any team here in Boston with the market that we're in, the passionate fans and everything that comes with Boston. I think any team has to be competitive or trying to be competitive. And at that point in time, there was no trying to be competitive. And for me, I always brought passion, excitement, energy to the rink. And that was really suffering at that point in time. And it affected my play. And I was 38 years old. And I had to find out that to put myself in a situation, a healthy one, to see, what I had left in the tank. And I asked to be traded. And I actually asked to go to Philly. We were building our dream house at the time, and I wanted to stay in the Eastern Conference. I thought Philly at that point in time was a team that was going to be really hard to beat in our conference. And, and then, Harry, said he'd try to accommodate me. And Reggie Lemlin was the goalie coach for the Flyers. So I knew exactly everything that was going on their side. And a couple of times, Reggie told me it was a done deal. And it never happened. We were actually playing the Flyers a Saturday afternoon, my last game that I played with the Bruins. And Reg said that after the game, this is a done deal, that you're coming with us after the game. And I was like, awesome. So it never happened. And I'm chasing Harry down in the garden and trying to find out what's going on. And, I'm calling him. There's no answer. He ends up getting back to me like at 10 at night that Saturday night. It was an afternoon game. And he says, hold tight. He says, there's other teams involved. I said, well, you know where I want to go? He says, yeah, but, I can't tell you where you're going yet, but don't show up at the rink tomorrow for practice. And we're playing Ottawa on Monday. If the deal's not done, don't come to the rink. Something will happen within the next few days. And
where did you think? Where did you have a bunch of teams that did you hear a lot of rumors?
Yeah, I got Dave Ellett calling me asking if I'd go to St. Louis. Detroit was in the mix, New Jersey, and I know Colorado was in the mix because René Angelil called me, that is best friends with Pierre Lacroix. They grew up together.
René Angelil. Celine Dion's René Angelil.
I had played golf with René a few times in Montreal when I'd go back in the summers. And so he says, Ray, this is René. I don't know if you remember me, but we played golf a few times together, and I'm calling you. I heard that you might get traded, and Pierre does not know I'm calling you. I'm just gonna tell you that Colorado would be a really, really good place for you. And he's telling me all this in French now. And so I'm like, okay, Renee.
That's a very good Rene
It
Angelil.
was so funny. But it was so funny and great because once I retired, every time my kids would turn 21, I'd call Pierre to call Rene and get me front row at Celine's concert.
So you're going through all of this, all the rumors, and then the trade is made. You are now a member of the Colorado Avalanche.
But then I get a call. No, I get a call from Dave Andreychuk that was out for warm up against the Ottawa Senators on that Monday night, and he says, "Ray, he says they just pulled me off the ice." I said, "Do you know anything?" I said, "No, I have no clue." He says, "Well, I think I'm going somewhere. I hope it's with you." So,
Wow.
Harry calls me at just at the end of the game, the Ottawa game, tells me that I'm going to Colorado, and then Pierre Lacroix calls me, and then Patrick Waugh calls me from Calgary. He's in his room with Adam Foote, Joe Sakic, Dave Reed himself, and they're just calling me, welcoming me to Colorado. And the next morning, I'm at the airport at 6 a.m. press conference at that time. Dave and they sent a plane for us that couldn't have been any smaller with all our stuff or equipment. And I was crunched, but Dave's 6'4", and he was just like a pretzel in the back. God. So we stop in Kansas City, fuel up, and get to Calgary and play that night with the Avalanche. And I tell you that it was really, really weird. Get to the hotel, press conference there. We have a bite to eat. I sleep for about, I don't even sleep. I lay down for an hour. I get to the rink real early, and I walk in the room, and the minute I walk in, I see the Avalanche jersey with 77 there. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
This is weird, man. So,
wow.
But it didn't take long to know that it was going to be a lot of fun playing there. I remember I got the puck behind the net, and I come out and just pull out, and I see Haydu kind of come across the blue line. I hit him with a friggin' pass, and then he hits Sakic on a breakaway, and we score. And I'm like, wow, okay.
This is going to be fun.
Be fun.
Yeah.
But,
so, you take this chapter. You guys came close. I think the first year we were there because you were, I think, a season and a half. The next year, one of the greatest, in my mind, it still brings chills. I mean, the Espo thing was one thing in Boston, but one of the greatest pieces of video ever is of Joe Sakic handing you the Stanley Cup, which you've dreamed of forever.
Well, Joe had that year he won the Hart Trophy. He had an amazing year. And I tell him that was the best assist he had all year.
He won so many trophies. What the heck? Here's a Stanley. Give it to Ray.
Joe was such a classy guy. I played that first year, and then I was a free agent after that year. And then I came back, and I told Pierre, just give me the same deal I had last year. Give me a 1-year contract. He says, no, I'm going to give you a 2-year contract. I said, I'm only playing a year. I'm done. So I'm getting a 2-year contract. So I was making $6 million at the time. So he gave me $5 million for that year. And then if I didn't play the next year, he'd give me $1 million kind of bonus to kind of make up $6 million. And then I had another $6 million the next year. I'm like, okay, fine. But, I told my wife, I said, this is it, last crack, regardless of what happens. And it was just an amazing year. We won the President's Trophy. From day one, Bob Hartley, really set the bar high. It was like more or less cup or bust. And he laid out a plan and how we're going to do it. And he really asked everybody to really pay attention to detail and to become, one of the best defensive teams in the league. As many offensive guys as we had, he really wanted us to commit and to really make a really strong effort on our half of the ice. And if we did that, he figured that with the offense that we had, we'd be really hard to beat. And he was right. And we ended up having the best goals against average in the league. We're the best defensive team in the league. Patrick won the Vezina, broke the record for most wins by a goalie. Joe wins Hart. Jesus scores 50 as well. We just have an amazing year, and it was so much fun. And we rolled for most parts of the year. But regardless of what you accomplished during a season, it's another thing when you come to the playoffs and trying to get there and do it and get to the end. And I've been to 2 finals with the Bruins, and didn't even come close. Losing 4 straight to Edmonton the first year, and then losing in 5 the next. So I knew that regardless if you're playing the finals or not, you're not playing for the cup till you win 3 games in the final. And going into New Jersey down 3-2, nobody was giving us a chance to beat the defending champs in their building. And we went out there, and for me, I knew that it could be my last game played. So I flew. I had all my family come to the game, my kids and wife, but also my family, my wife's family, and our closest friends.
Did your family know at the time that this would be your last game?
I just wanted them there in case it was my last game.
Mm-hmm.
We end up winning that 4-0. Now everybody goes to Colorado. So
it costed you a lot of money here, Ray.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think our check was 125,000 for winning the cup, and my check for 2 weeks was like 250. So it's not about money in the playoffs, but the Stanley Cup.
Well worth it.
Yeah. So I flew everybody out to Denver, and knowing that was my last game played, regardless of win or lose. And we end up winning, and it was just an amazing experience, that whole game. Being up 3-0 and actually thinking that, man, I'm going to win the cup, and trying to stay, what a test, try to stay in the present and trying to think about the process, that all those things that you talk about with your mental coach and your sports psychologist and all that stuff really came into play that night. So we end up winning, and, but coming home from game 6, all Joe wanted to talk about was, how are we going to do it, Ray? I'm like,
oh,
what?
So that was, he was talking about it beforehand.
Yeah, game 6. I'm like, he said, the cup thing. I'm like, Joe,
really?
Let's win the friggin' game.
I thought he shocked the crap out of you. I didn't know that guys were talking about it.
We didn't talk about what we were going to do.
Yeah.
I said, Joe, let's win the game and then we'll talk about it.
Nice.
All right. So after the game, he said, Ray, I want you coming up with me. I'm like, all right. So it was this. I mean, I have goosebumps right now just talking about it. Yeah. But what a feeling. And it's like pretty much all that I went there just to accomplish that and have it happen. And pretty much the only thing left. And what a relief. It was really a relief, kept hearing, Ray Bourque did that and that. Yeah, but but he never won, never won one. And it's like, it's so unfair for anybody to say that about so many great players. I played with Brad Park, Jean Rattel. They don't come better than them, and or Dan Marino, or I mean,
Dale Howard.
There's so much things that have to be right for you to win. First of all, you got to have the talent around you. You can't do this by yourself. And even if you do have the most talented team, how many times does that team win? So it's so hard to win, and to finally have it happen in the last game. And I think you asked me this a few weeks ago, and I never came up with that answer till you asked me, and I'm like, what are your special moments? And I think about it. Okay, first game in the NHL, you live, you finally, your dream to playing in the NHL, that first game. And then you win the cup, your last game. I mean, is there any better than that? Those 2 bookends and everything that came in between that. I mean, we could talk about forever.
In between all of that, representing your country as well. You were an Olympian.
That was amazing.
Canada Cups, one of the greatest series ever, 1987. But I also think about 84. I thought 84 was tremendous as well. But to be part of Canada with those great uniforms, to play for the Canada Cup as well. I don't know if we've ever seen hockey like that. I'm not sure we'll ever see hockey like that.
I mean, 87 was so special because, it wasn't a 1-game event. It wasn't, win or lose after, 81 was so disappointing when we go undefeated and then we get killed in that final game against the Russians. where, all you hear is like, oh my God, yeah, we're going to meet Trudeau tomorrow. There's going to be a big thing in Ottawa, big parade and all this. And then you get killed. I think it was 7-1, 7-2, something like that. And then 84, we win, but, we beat the Swedes. No disrespect, but it wasn't the Russians. And then 87, we meet up with the mighty Russians, and it's the best of three, and they beat us first game 6-5 in overtime. And all three games end up being 6-5.
The same score that was 1972, 6-5.
Amazing. And just the highest level caliber hockey, and having the best seat in the house to watch Mario and Gretzky just go at it. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And
What
then,
were-
and then 98, the Olympics.
Oh,
The first time that was
I should know this. Did you come into the opening ceremony, or did the players come in?
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
that like
That
for
was
a pro?
amazing. You know what? That whole experience, that the Olympic Village and the Canada House, and staying in there and meeting all the other athletes, and then walking around the village and seeing all the other great athletes, and then being in the Canadian House, that, they all thought we were going to be so tough to approach or whatever. And we made it so easy, and we're so, how we are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had a blast and we enjoyed it. That aspect of the Olympics is what I enjoyed the most, because obviously we came back with nothing. But I that's still for me a very special experience. Even without winning, and as disappointing as it was, you still came out with a special experience.
In the Canada Cup, and I've been taking up way too much of your time, but I could talk with you forever. You're fascinating. I want to ask you about Borje Salming, because we just lost him, and we've lost so many great ones. Guy Lafleur, Clark Gillies, Dale Howardchuk, you name it.
The last couple of years,
It's been yeah, and I want to ask about Borje, because this is so fresh, and you had a chance to play against him. I'm sure you got a chance to know him. Very sad way that unfortunately we saw him in his last days. But Borje Salming was such a pioneer and a trailblazer and an icon. He must have been someone that you obviously also looked up to.
Well, I was a young kid when I saw him play, and he was just an amazing player. I mean, he played with flair. He played with no fear. He would put his face in front of a shot. He would block a shot, make a great pass, make a great play. Such a great skater, but not only a great skater, but the way he skated was like really, he had style. And, in being, one of those first Swedes to come over and be kind of, like you said, a trailblazer for all those Swedes. They have so much respect and looked up to him so much, and having an opportunity to play against him, towards the end of his career, I always looked at him as one of the special defensemen in the league. And seeing, I was really happy. I was actually in Toronto for both those nights they had on Friday and Saturday night. I wasn't there live, but I was able to watch it on TV, and they did an amazing job. And we have a family foundation, the Bourque Family Foundation, and we're very involved with ALS, and it's just a horrible, horrible disease. And we've given a lot to research that is out of the Healy Center here in Boston, and we got to know we're really close to the Frady's family, that Pete Frady, that the Ice Bucket Challenge and all that, and Pete passed. And we have a big gala and a ball that we have every year that is memory, since Pete passed, is in memory of Pete Frady, where the money goes to research in the Pete Frady's Family Foundation that gives grants to the family that goes through, that are affected by ALS. So I know ALS, and I've been around certain people that, you see Borje at those two nights, and you're like, okay, he's probably got a little while to go. It's not good, but then the next thing you know, a few days later, he passes. And just like he just had to live that moment, come one more time in Toronto and kind of have his last hurrah and then bang. Because I visited a ALS patient one night that was nowhere near in the condition that Pete Frady was in, that I've seen many, many times. And he really wanted to meet me. He was a humongous Bruins fan and a Ray Bourque fan. And I left there the next morning. I wake up. I'm going to the gym at 7 a.m. I get a message from the person that asked me to visit him and says, Ray, you made his life and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That was easy. I really enjoyed it. Spent an hour with him and his wife and his little 6-month-old little boy. Then I come out of the gym two hours later, okay, maybe 1 hour later, and she tells me he had passed.
Oh.
I'm like, how does that happen? Come on. So it's just, I've been around it, I know it, and it's just it's horrible. And
Yeah.
but see him live those 2 nights with his family and and having so many Swedes and great hockey players and young ones that looked up to him, and to be around, that play with the Leafs or are there for the Hall of Fame. Those 3 guys are being inducted that Monday. What a special and perfect weekend, that ended up being.
Well, you're in the hall. You're forever in the hall with those names, with Borje. And like Borje, you are a guy that has given so much back. I now know, though, why Ray Bourque is Ray Bourque. You've got such a huge heart, man, and you've done so much in this great life of yours. So now I know you love to golf. And before we leave, I always like to play a quick 18, but my 18 aren't holes. So Bourque, I'm going to give you 18 quick questions or so. You can answer quickly, long, whatever. You're Ray Bourque. You can do whatever you want. But you can say no comment. You can give me the finger, whatever you want to do. So are you ready to play?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's go. First autograph Ray Bourque ever got.
Serge Savard, in my hometown. He was after Montreal Canadiens game, he was good friends with somebody that played on a garage league late Saturday night game. He showed up. He had this big fur coat on. Oh my God, he looked like a friggin' bear. And that was my first autograph.
The best moment that you had that you can tell us with the Stanley Cup.
Pierre Lacroix told me to bring it home after the game, and I had a 15-passenger van that had all my family because I brought them to Colorado to see my last game played. So at the end of the party at 2:30, I brought the cup was seated in the front seat. I had all my family and friends in that van, and we went back to my house, and we had a cooler in the van, and we got to my street, start beeping the horn, put the cup on the sidewalk, the cooler in the street, and we stayed there till 5:30 in the morning. I won't tell you what happened when we went to bed.
That's legend, man. That's legend. Beyond hockey, what is the thing that you are most proud of?
My family. I've got 3 great kids, and I've got a great partner in my wife that has done an amazing job with my kids. We're there. We're busy, and we're there, but we're not. And the job that she did, and I'm so proud of them, and seeing them being parents now, I'm even more proud because of they're just fabulous, and the grandkids, and so it just keeps going.
Best teammate you ever had?
That's really unfair.
I'm sure they're all.
Yeah, there's so many, and it's unfair to name.
Okay, who's the toughest teammate? That's maybe unfair too. You had so many tough guys you played with.
No, I mean, the toughest, hardest working guy I've ever played with was Terry O'Reilly. Just amazing work ethic. I've never seen anything like it. From the first second of practice to the last second of practice, he is all out, and he is so tough. The toughest, hardest working guy I've ever played with, and an amazing teammate. And the best coach that I ever had was
Mhm.
Terry Riley.
Funniest teammate you ever had?
There's not one, um, like when we're, 87, 90, like we had such a amazing chemistry in that team. And, um, we had guys like Reggie Lemon, Andy Moog that were goalies that, Mooger would just stir the pot and get everything going. And then we had, like Ted Donato and Steve Leach that pre-game was just playing off each other. It could have been, you know, it could have been a show, a sitcom that would play every week, and they're so funny and we'd be laughing and, we got to go play a hockey game. But that team, like, 87 to like 91 there, where we went to 2 cup finals, was a very special team. Bob Sweeney, just Gary Galley, just, Dave Poulin was,
Oh yeah.
I mean, we had, Adam Oates, and then, there's Cam and Don Sweeney and
Jeez.
just, so it was fun. But Jerry Cheevers was one of the funniest guys that
By the way, he still
I,
is.
I played 1 year with Cheesy. I mean, what a character. And Wayne Cashman, I came in my first year in 1979. Cash and Cheesy and Cash would tell stories like nobody else, and Cheesy was so witty and come out with stuff. Um, Keith Crowder was one of my favorites as well. Keith and I came in together. We roomed together for a long time, and a lot of special guys. There's just
Yeah.
special guys.
Little known fact about me: my father-in-law played for the Bruins in the '60s. Bill Nibs, KNI, BBS. He played with all those guys.
Yeah.
Never, yeah, but and he loved it. Okay, Ray Bourque, toughest person you ever played against?
Well, I say Gretzky and Lemieux. Um, Mario, when his switch was on, I thought was the best player I've ever played against, and Gretzky's switch was always on. Wayne wanted to just score like 5 points a game, and he friggin' most nights he did. But just amazing players. And when I go back to 87, just to see those two guys playing the same line and do what they did during that tournament was amazing.
The best thing about Boston,
Hmm.
besides Tresca, my favorite restaurant.
Yeah, 233 Hanover Street in Boston, 5 minute walk from the Garden. Yeah. Um, for me, it's just a pulse in the city. There's such a pulse there. They love their sports, they love their history, they love, there's so much history and so many different things going on and downtown in the city. There's such a pulse and a vibe that is so much fun to be around.
Hmm. Can you give me a little? What's your best Boston accent? Your best wicked awesome.
Wicked ass and pissa, and you gotta, that car, you gotta park that car.
People from Boston, they're beauties, man. I love Boston. There's something about it.
Yeah,
What's the
it's a
best thing?
fun town.
Yeah, what's the best thing about Denver, Colorado? Besides the fact you
Uh,
won a cup for them.
I thought the people were, it was really funny how so many people from so many different parts of the country end up in Denver. And I thought it was really a nice place. I mean, people were really nice and, yeah, little granola, maybe outdoor people and all that stuff, but I really enjoyed the people out there.
Best thing about Saint Laurent, Quebec.
Just a fun place to grow up for me anyways, there's a ballpark or a rink at every corner, where there's a ball field, there's a hockey rink that's back then we'd skate, it seemed like we had outdoor ice for 4 months and never have to worry about, it not being frozen. And, every day we'd find ourselves at the rink, and in the summer we'd find ourselves, in the ball field and just playing baseball every day and meeting up there. So for me, I got to say my buddies and just growing up in a fun place.
I got you in front of that Christmas holiday tree. You're kind of looking like a very handsome, young Santa Claus. Look at you. Look at that. Hey, that's so nice.
That's why I won't even show you my belly, because
Yeah.
I'll say I really look like him.
So what was the best Christmas gift you ever got?
I don't like getting gifts. I'm very uncomfortable getting gifts. I love giving gifts, but getting gifts.
Do you remember one in particular when you were a kid? Skates, helmet?
No. For a kid, Christmas was not the best for me. I'm born December 28th. A lot of times it was like, well,
Yeah, you got ripped off.
Merry Christmas and happy birthday. So maybe that's why I don't like getting gifts.
Thank you, Ebenezer. I'm sorry, I'm Ray. Favorite binge show? We've all been watching a lot of binge shows over COVID and everything else. Do you have one?
Right now, I really enjoyed Yellowstone.
Good.
Still watching that. You know what? I had never watched The Sopranos, and I remember during COVID just binge watching that, and that was amazing. And the same thing with Seinfeld. We played on Thursday night, so I never got to watch that, and you couldn't tape shows back then. So, after you retire and you kind of get to watch all these shows. And what's the other show that was really good? Ozark.
Oh yeah, terrific.
Ozark was good. I actually watched Sylvester Stallone just in the past week with the Tulsa King.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
He's a mafioso that just spent 25 years in prison, just got out, and they told him that they're sending him to Tulsa, and he's all pissed because he kept quiet for 25 years, and you're sending me to Tulsa, and so now he's kind of going to be running things in Tulsa.
Greatest movie ever for you?
Well, for me, the two classics were Slapshot and Caddyshack. I remember as a young kid going to see Slapshot. I was probably 13, 14 years old, and and then Caddyshack was just so funny. And then I really enjoyed the Rocky movies as well.
Who plays Ray Bourque in the Ray Bourque movie when it's made? It will be made. Who's going to play you? Who do you want to play you?
Maybe my grandson, Kingston. He's kind of built like me. So, I don't know, somebody that could mumble pretty good. And
who plays Christiane? Who plays your wife?
I'm not good with that stuff.
Who plays Cam Neely? Who plays Terry O'Reilly?
I know.
A romantic night at the Bourque with the Bourques, with you and your wife, beyond going to Tresca. Where is it again, Ray? Where is it again? 233
Hanover Street, Boston. It's Rodeo Drive of the North End, Little Italy. One square mile of 70 Italian restaurants.
Great wine.
Five-minute walk to the garden.
So what is your feels though? What's the Ray Bourque romantic night out?
Well, back in the day, it could be, a beautiful dinner, but I remember surprising my wife. We were building our dream house in Boston, and it was Valentine's Day, and I had somebody driving us to dinner, and the house was just like 2x4s, and there's the separations in a certain parts of the house were being made and all that stuff. But with the builder and his assistant, I had it set up where we had dinner catered in the dining room of our new house with everything set up, rose petals, a table, dinner, all that stuff. And I told her that the builder had to have us go see something at the house before we'd go downtown for dinner. So then it was just a big surprise. They had these like Christmas lights, these way of lights and inside the house and all that stuff. So it was like, I think if you ask her, our most romantic dinner at night would probably be that night.
Look at you. What a romantic guy.
Hey, 40 years of marriage, you gotta You got to find ways, right?
You're a sweetheart. I'm almost done here. We're way past the back nine. If you built your Mount Borkmore of sport, I'd put you on it. Give me 4 names or 5 of the greatest of the greatest athletes that have ever played in any sport in your mind.
Jordan, Brady, Bobby Orr, Muhammad Ali.
Those are good ones. Do you and Bobby talk a lot?
Yeah, we talk a few times a year, and I probably see him a couple of times a year. He's amazing, amazing man.
Yes.
So, I mean, what an example for us to kind of watch and how he's gone about his business and how he deals with people. And, he's just so gracious, such a gracious man that just perfect example to follow or try.
Do you know who's a lot like him? Ray Bourque. You're like that. You have been like that forever. Last one. You can finish the sentence. I, Ray Bourque, owe all my success to.
There's it's the hard work, dedication, and passion. And a few special people along the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, dude, I started this by giving you all those great titles of all the things you've done. One thing I forgot to mention is what a great person you are. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being part of the Rodcast.
All right.
Happy holidays to you and yours.
Thank you. You too. Back at you, and to everybody out there.
Yeah, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you around the rink
or
at Tresca.
Sounds good.
Do you have a senior discount?
Oh, you got the big discount. You'll be with me. You let me know.
Thank you, Bourque.
Automatic. All right, take care, bud. Good luck.
Thank you. Terrific guy, Ray Bourque. I like the Christmas look, the tree, and he does kind of look like he could be in one of those Netflix Christmas movies. But he's a guy who's been giving a lot of gifts to a lot of people through the years. You heard about his foundation and what he and his family have done through the years. You heard about all the stuff he's done in and around his hometown of Saint Laurent, Quebec, in Denver, all around. Wherever Ray Bourque has gone, he has been a champion. He's a Hall of Famer, a legend, an icon, and we're so happy that he joined us on the Rodcast today. We hope you got a little more insight into a guy who at one time said he was quiet. He's not quiet. He's funny, and he's a great, great person. Thank you, Ray Bourque. And thank you all for joining us. Subscribe, like, whatever it is. And we'll see you next time on another edition of the Rodcast.
The Rodcast with Rod Black, brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.